Hey, somebody's got to hide the piggy bank. You have? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You are listening to The Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here today and with every show we do is to play the part of a best friend or a coach. I want to help you live the life of your wildest dreams by giving you access to the greatest mentors the world has to offer today. The Professional Noticer is sponsored this week by wisdomharbor.com. That's wisdomharbor.com. Wisdomharbor.com is an affordable virtual destination for all ages, giving members a unique advantage in a competitive world. Revealing wisdom in an agreeable and approachable way, Wisdom Harbor exists to help people live the lives they would live if they only knew how. WisdomHarbor.com is available now, not only for you, but as a gift for family and friends. You will not find a gift less expensive that will be more appreciated all year long than WisdomHarbor.com. Wisdom Harbor produces valuable content that is both entertaining and educational, and it's delivered by educators, Grammy winners, best-selling authors, coaches, comedians, CEOs, master chefs, and Hall of Fame speakers. There's even guitar lessons given by an award-winning songwriter. Go online now. Check out the virtual tour and the inside scoop at wisdomharbor.com. Observations and answers, that's what we do here on The Professional Noticer. And as you know, we love it when somebody comes to the table with both. And today, we have that very situation. Our guest today needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He is a 7-time #1 national best-selling author, a personal finance expert, and host of The Ramsey Show, which is heard by 20 million listeners every week. And since 1992, this guy has helped people take control of their money, build wealth, and enhance their lives. He also serves as the CEO for Ramsey Solutions. And if you're coming up I-65 headed into National, if you look to your right, I call it Fort Ramsey. It's up there. It's a big, beautiful place. But this guy's also my friend. Please welcome Dave Ramsey. Hey, buddy.
Hey, man. Merry Christmas. How are you?
I'm doing great. I am so excited to have you on. And Polly and the boys are excited that you're on today, too.
Well, we love them. We love them, and we tolerate you.
Yeah. And so your family doing good?
Everybody's great, brother. Everybody's
good.
Great.
Well, you know, you have another book come out. This coming out. And I'm excited about this because it'll give me the opportunity to spread them around the bookstores like I do. I mean, you know that everywhere I go, and I'm telling our listeners this too, I am such a believer in this guy, personally and professionally, that when I see his books in a store, I will take them and spread them out so that they are all over the place. And I usually take a picture of them and send it to Dave, and I just say, my work in this place is done. And he sends some sarcastic comment back. But you guys, now, this is your first book in a while. I know that Total Money Makeover was on the New York Times bestseller list for like over 200 weeks. Mm-hmm. But now you have Baby Steps, Millionaires coming out, and it releases January 11th. You're in pre-order now. And this book is how ordinary people built extraordinary wealth and how you can too. Tell me about this book.
Well, I didn't really intend to do another book. I pretty much have been using our platform to lift our other 10 personalities and their best-selling books. My daughter Rachel just had another #1 another New York Times bestseller the other day, and that's what we've been concentrating on. But I just kept seeing two things that were disturbing to me. One was all of the people who have started to believe in our culture that it's not possible to build wealth anymore, that the little man can't get ahead, quote unquote, that some kind of governmental intervention and wealth redistribution is the only shot for the little guy. And that's a disturbing lie. And I knew it was a lie because the other thing that caused me to look at the book was that I am running into, after having done this show for 30 years and taught people how to get out of debt so that they can build wealth, so that they can be generous, so that they can change their family tree. I'm running into tens of thousands of people coming in, and I'm everywhere I go, I see them, and they walk over to me, and they kind of whisper to me, "Hey, started following the baby steps about 10 years ago, and my net worth 2.1 million. I started from nothing." And these baby steps millionaires were just everywhere, anecdotally. I hadn't done any research on them, but they were just popping up. And I thought, you know what? It's sad that the first message I was talking about is stealing hope from people when I'm meeting people who have done it. And so I need to connect these two people. I need to show the people that have done it to the people that don't believe they can. And so Baby Steps Millionaires is about people that became millionaires following our baby steps. And it's about all the objections and the things you think that are blocking you. I address all of those like a good salesman, right? And so I address the objections, the reasons you think you can't do it. And then we've got not only the stories and my 30 years of observations and experience in this area showing you can do it, but also we did the largest study of millionaires ever done in North America. Over 10,000 of them studied a few years ago. And we included some conclusions from that airtight research, and we put the research in the back of the book. Because basically I'm trying to make the case that you can do it, and if you don't believe you can or someone says you can't, you're wrong.
Yeah. And, to me, this has the two things that people need for change. This book and this, and you said that I'm talking about their objections like a good salesman would. Well, the two things, what's in it for me. I mean, they can obviously see that if they do this, what's in it for them. But you're giving them proof beyond a reasonable doubt that this is so. Especially in a world where, the other side is telling them it's not so. And so you are providing proof, not just encouragement. This book has data, it has proof. So how do you define millionaire? That gets thrown around in our society a lot. How do you define that in this book?
It became an iconic word in the 20s, the roaring 20s, because we started seeing some of the first millionaires. And back then, $1 million was a lot of money. But to become a millionaire and drive a Dusseldorf, drive a fancy car and so forth, was in the roaring 20s was the thing. You had made it. You were the uber rich, what we would really call a billionaire today. So it became kind of this mindset or this idea. And somewhere in there, the actual definition got lost, especially with all the political rhetoric around wealth. The definition got lost. So it is not someone that makes $1 million a year. You can make $1 million a year and actually not be a millionaire. The definition of a millionaire, and there's only one definition. It's not Dave's definition. It's an accounting definition. This is a standard financial planning thing. Is assets minus liabilities. What your net worth is. What you own minus what you owe is your net worth. When that is $1 million or greater, you are a millionaire. Well, I don't know if you should be a millionaire. It's not a moral construct. Well, I don't know if that's enough money. It might not be. But it's $1 million. It's not none of these are discussions. It's an accounting math thing. When you hit there, I don't feel like a millionaire. I don't feel rich. I don't care. It's a millionaire. You are, by definition, mathematically a millionaire. And then we can discuss all those other things, whether it's okay morally, spiritually, whether it's enough money or do you need more or how do you invest it. We can talk about all those things, but we have to first say that's what a millionaire is. Yeah,
this defines the term.
Exactly.
And so with your baby steps, this is you and I had a long conversation a couple of months ago outside your office. And
that was fun.
It was great. And I appreciated so much the time. And one of the things that I took away from that conversation was your insistence on my understanding the value of baby steps in what I was teaching. in what I'm doing. And so how do you define the baby steps in this book? There are 7 of them. And I got to say, when I used to do stuff about the traveler's gift, it used to drive me crazy when people would say, tell us what the 7 decisions are, because I thought, oh man, if I just list these, people are going to go, yeah, I've heard that. And you're not getting a chance to explain it. But at the danger of dampening your message, can you lay out the 7 baby steps quickly for us?
What you and I were talking about on the deck is that human beings require proof of progress to continue.
Yeah.
We have to have traction. We have to know that what we're doing is going somewhere. Otherwise, we're just a dog chasing its tail, running in circles, and we're not going to do it. People to do it for a while. They can be convinced, they can be paid, they can be cajoled. But long term, people, in order to self-start, need to see a clear path and proof of traction. And that we were being gamified long before there was Nintendo. I mean, long before eBay taught us to change colors, right? Long before Noom got us to log our meals. Long before, we're being gamified. And so really what you need is, I just need to see that I'm moving in the right direction. As long as I can tell measurable progress, I'll keep going. So that's what the baby steps are for finance. It's just a clear path. Well, I don't know if I agree with them. I don't really care. You don't have to do them. It's okay. Only about 10 or 15 million people have done this, but you don't have to do it. It's okay. So baby step 1 is $1,000. Save $1,000 very, very quickly. A miniature starter emergency fund. It's not enough, but it's not supposed to be enough. I want you to do this like in a month. Baby step 2 is you pay off all your debt using what we call the debt snowball, except your home. List your debts smallest to largest. Pay minimum payments on everything but the little one. Attack the little one with a vengeance. When all of your debt is gone, but your house payment, you're in an unusually good place right then. And that's just baby step 2. Now you don't have any payments but a house payment. Go back to that $1,000 account in baby step 3. Let's raise it up to a properly funded, fully funded emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. You do those 3 in direct order. Don't mess up. Just do it exactly. Then the last 3, you do them at the same time, simultaneously. Baby step 4, once you've got your emergency fund and no payments but a house payment, is you put 15% of your income into retirement. And then you go to baby step 5, address the kid's college issue, if there is one, whatever you're going to save there. And then baby step 6 is any other money we can find, we throw it at it, and we pay off the house. And then once you've done that, you are at baby step 7, where there's nothing left to do. I mean, you have no debt, you've got money coming out your ears. And so, become wealthy, live like no one else, so that later you can live and give like no one else. Now, here's what's interesting, Andy. I have become known, our brand. If you say Dave Ramsey, people go, get out of debt.
Right.
I've become known for baby step 2. But baby steps millionaire is why we had you get out of debt. Because now this book is about baby step 4, 15% of your income going into retirement, 5 is your kids' college, and 6 is paying off the house. When we did this huge study of millionaires, the classic case studies, a 52-year-old has been working on this 14 years. They paid off their home in around 11 years. They've got $1.5 million net worth. Remember, assets minus liabilities. They have 0 debt, $1.5 million net worth, $500,000 paid for house, and about $1 million in their 401k. So that 15% into their retirement, built their retirement nest egg, and they paid off their house. And it made them a millionaire. Ta-da! Wow, that was difficult. But it is difficult because you have to be weird in a culture that's lost its freaking mind.
Boy, that is so true. It drives me nuts thinking about how often I hear about people wanting to make a difference, and yet nobody's willing to be different.
Ooh.
And
you ought to tweet that.
They can't be, they're not mutually exclusive. If you talk to people who work with teenagers, and you say, what's their biggest challenge? What's their biggest hang up? It is, belonging and being part of everybody else and wearing the same clothes and yet, now this is something nobody talks about, but if you if you ask these kids, okay, who do you really like? Who do you admire? Who's your life hero? And the answer is always something like, Bill Gates or you know Tom Brady or somebody like that. And the thing that they don't seem to make the connection on is that the reason they're liking these people, the reason people, look at you and it is you're different. Tom Brady's different. Bill Gates is different. And so they want that because they see how they live, and yet they got to make the connection that somewhere along the line, Tom Brady and Dave Ramsey decided that they were going to have to do things differently and be different so that they could end up being different.
Well, it's exactly right. One of my personal huge advantages is I went broke and lost everything, went bankrupt in my 20s. And it not only did I lose everything money-wise, but it broke me spiritually. It broke my back emotionally. And because I was a guy who desperately needed the approval of everyone else. So the clothes I wore, the cars I drove, the watch I had on my arm, everything was about getting approval, which generally will lead you to being broke because you buy stupid stuff, right?
Right, right.
And I did. I was a classic case, but with zeros on the end. But the one of the benefits of having gone through that gives me a unique advantage in the marketplace and just personally as well is I lost what the Bible calls a fear of man. I lost my need for approval. And it really almost too much so. I just truly don't care what people think. It just does not. I got, because after that, you know what? Everybody left except my wife. Everybody looked over the edge at the colossal crash and shook their head and went, my. And so all of those people that I was trying to please instantaneously weren't pleased, weren't affirming, and I just lost my need to cause them to do that. So that makes you different, because now if you're not driven by this need for affirmation, I mean, and I have a healthy level of need for affirmation. I don't want people to hate me. I don't mean that. But
Right.
my first goal is not to make someone out there happy. My first goal is to tell the truth and love someone well, and then they get to choose if they're happy.
Right. Right. I feel like there's probably 3 steps that people who lead a successful life, 3 steps in an evolution of that kind of life, and that you see a lot if you see somebody make it to that 3rd step. And that one is, there's a time in our lives when we don't care what anybody thinks about us. We don't care. And then the 2nd stage is we kind of care what everybody thinks. And then you reach a stage where you realize wasn't nobody thinking about you to begin with.
It's devastating. Yeah.
Hey, a belief is a big part of this book. And I have done a lot of work researching belief, and I've come to the conclusion that belief, what you believe, is so powerful that you cannot behave against it. And so tell me about the purpose, the importance of talking about belief in the book, and how important that is to overcoming the barriers that are there.
Well, I mean, it's something that you and I have both taught on and studied forever in a lot of different settings, but you're the guru for sure on this whole idea. And we all came kind of out of that Zig Ziglar or Earl Nightingale world, where if you can believe it and conceive it and believe it, you can achieve it. Now, and people have taken that to weird extremes, but conceptually, right, if you don't actually think you can do it, then you can't. That's a big deal. And so, in a sense, what you and I are doing oftentimes with folks in their lives is convincing them that they can do it. That's called hope versus hopelessness. And Proverbs says hope deferred makes the heart sick. But when desire comes, oh man, it is the tree of life. And so what we have found is, and that's what's so disturbing to me about the toxic voices in our culture, the wealth inequality, toxic political movement, all of these things, the rich or evil movement, all of that garbage, is that it's teaching people that haven't yet won in the financial part of their lives that they can't. The deck is stacked against you. You can't win. And that lie makes me just livid. I just get so angry, not necessarily at the people. Sometimes it's at the people that are saying the lie, but at the lie, because it steals their belief. Here's what's interesting. When we studied that 10,000 millionaires, and we surveyed them, and we said, is it possible today to become a millionaire in America like you have done? 97% of them said yes. Well, they're millionaires. Of course they think it can be done. They did it. Then we asked the question, did you used to believe before you were a millionaire? As you were doing this, did you believe it was possible? I've always believed it was possible. 97%. When we asked the public, the general public, the same question, is it possible to become a millionaire today? Only 69% believe it's possible. Well, I rest my case.
Yeah.
Belief matters.
Yeah, I had somebody ask me one time, when you were writing The Traveler's Gift, did you have any idea that book would sell? And I said, of course. Yes. I mean, why? I don't mean to sound, like arrogant or anything, but why would I put the time in if I had not believed that this was a good thing for people and that this was going to sell? Now, the fact that the struggles, there's advice that you've given me in the past that things are going to be twice as hard as you think, and it's going to be take twice as long. And that turned out to be true with The Traveler's Gift. But the thing I love about this new book is, I think you can't just tell people, believe, trust me, just believe. Just believe. Just look in the mirror and say, I can. Well, that lasts until you're out of the bathroom, But with this book, you are lining out the proof. You are helping people to understand, can I do that? Yes, I can do that. Okay, can I do that and that? Yes, I can. Okay, then can I do it? You're lining it out to where you are creating the reality of belief. That's proof. And proof has to be aligned with truth, because at any time that you begin to suspect what you believe is not true, it's no longer proof. This is why, what you're laying out here is such obvious truth, but like many obvious things, we don't see it until somebody does lay it out.
Yeah. Well, we really wanted to stir up a holy ruckus is what we're after here, because the case that we're making is from 30 years of observation, from the largest study ever done that's airtight research, from anecdotal observation, and from story after story after story after story, and showing you the math on it. And okay, here's the math. Can you do this? If you did this, this is where you would be. I mean, you really can't dispute that, 1 + 1 is going to equal 2 every time. And so go do the 1 + 1 and you will get 2. I mean, and when we lay it out and show you, one of the examples, our math examples we run in the book, is if you just take an average household income of $60,000 and you just saved 15% of that, like we talk about in baby step 4, you're going to have $3 or $4 million. So if I'm half wrong, and you never get a raise, if I'm half wrong and you're a loser, Because if you work 40 years and never get a raise, you're a loser. Okay. So, I mean, if I'm half wrong and you're a loser, you still end up a millionaire. Oh my gosh. This is like done, you know?
Hey, before I move on to something else, and then I want to come back to the book. But first of all, how do people pre-order this? Where's the best way to go? And we want to have this on the show notes and everything too, but tell us here.
Yeah, just RamseySolutions.com. It's in our store. And if you pre-order before the pub date of January 11, you'll get all kinds of goodies with it. The audiobook, the ebook, some of our other stuff, and connections to a whole bunch of things, about $150 worth of stuff to pre-order. It's only $20 for the book. If you pre-order, it'll go up, of course, on launch day.
Okay. All right. Good. Hey, well, I've got some hypothetical questions for you, but I also have some just questions, because I know that when people like you are interviewed, you get asked the same questions a lot, and it's not often that we are interviewed by our friends, I guess. And so
True.
I want to ask you a couple of questions with some personal insight, I suppose. Okay, and here is one that I've just been dying to ask you. I have watched you personally and professionally for a couple of decades, and I mean we've been to your house. I remember you throwing the football with Adam when Adam's like 5 years old in your front yard, and then the next week we're walking through Target. And of course, it never occurred to me that Adam didn't know what you did for a living. And so we were walking through Target, and your book is all over the end cap in the Target. And Adam goes, "Dad, Mr. Dave is on a book." So every time I see that book, I always think, yeah, Mr. Dave is on a book. So I've watched you and listened to you for years. Now, is it my perception? Is it a hallucination, or are you getting tougher?
Tougher.
Yeah, I mean,
You mean like my answers are shorter and grouchier?
yeah. Are you getting grouchier?
Probably. Yeah.
Because
it's probably it would be due to two things if I did that. I shouldn't be doing that, but if I did that, and I probably am, it's when I first started, I didn't have an expectation that that the person I'm talking to on the radio understood where I was coming from, and so I had to make a more of a persuasive case. Today, after 30 years of turning on the microphone and answering the exact same question over and over and over again, people call to the show and they say things like, I've listened to your show for 5 years. I've been through Financial Peace University. I've read every book you have. And now tell me, which kind of credit card should I get?
yeah,
I just go, is this a prank call? Or are you really that dumb? I mean, it's just, so it might be just a little bit of frustration with my ability to, I need to be persuasive, but I'm talking to this guy who just laid out that he supposedly has all these answers from like 19 different sources that we put out, but then still asks the exact same dumb butt question. And so I have to be nice or I'm considered a jerk. Dave Ramsey's lost his way. Dave Ramsey's gotten mean. He's gotten arrogant over the years. And I'm just like, no, the guy's that's dumber than a rock.
This is exactly the answer that I believe. This is exactly what I was expecting, because I think that, and I'm among your listeners.
My patience with fools is smaller than it used to be.
Yeah. And I think that we sit and listen to you sometimes, and when somebody says that, we're like jumping up and going, "What the heck? What are you, how did you get through the call screener? Did they just like put somebody on for us to laugh at?"
Exactly. Entertainment value of radio. But
I also wonder
But if I catch myself with someone who is not familiar, I'll flip the other way pretty quick. I've still got that ability to be kind and to go, this guy really doesn't know that he's asking something that's perpendicular to everything. And that, either their dad told them to call and set them up to get their head taken off, right? Or whatever. But if I catch on that they are not coming from a place of obviousness, then I can flip back to the old days and be persuasive, Dave, because I have to teach. Teaching is persuading. Teaching is selling an idea, making you believe this idea versus the idea you called with that was wrong. And right. So, and for your own good, it doesn't affect me. When I get off the call, I'm going home. My house is still paid for. It's not, right. It doesn't affect me. But did I win the call where the light bulb comes on over their head and they have a transformational moment? And that's all I'm looking for. But yeah, I'm probably less patient with people who should know better than I used to be.
Well, here's another possibility. And I wonder if you see this. As I get older, the truth matters more to me. I guess I feel time receding, and I suppose I feel like I've got a shorter amount of time to get this message into somebody's head, and I wonder if that would be kind of double frustration for you when somebody calls with something stupid like that. And I think that sometimes people, we live in a world that has become obsessed with how people feel, and yet the world does not work that way. Nobody cares how you feel. They only care how you act. They care what you do. This is how, teachers treat you, how jobs. I mean, nobody's ever interviewed for a job and had somebody say, hey, if you get the job, how are you going to feel? And so it's, the honesty of saying, hey, what you did was stupid. I mean, the honesty of that, if somebody doesn't just like have their emotions all over, the honesty of that can save them a lot of time. Yeah. I didn't say you were stupid. I said what you did was stupid.
Right. Yeah. And I do not call people stupid, but I have called a lot of things they do stupid, and I've called myself stupid. Right. But and I've done a lot of stupid things for sure. But it's like in our world today, we're so worried about they kind of live in an alternate reality that is social media wired. Their brains are wired like social media instead of like reality, and so it's an alternate universe, and it's not truth. And so in that world, no one ever says, "Hey, that's not right." I'll have people call and they'll run out this whole line of something, and I'll go, do you have any idea that what you just said really sounds crazy? What you just said here, let me play back to you what you just said out loud. Does that not sound crazy? And no one has loved them enough to say that to them, because their mommy is worried about hurting their feelings. Their friend is worried about hurting their feelings. And certainly you don't have real friends on social media. You have friends, but that's a joke. We know that's not a real relationship. Right. A real relationship is you and me sitting after 20 plus years of friendship, sitting on my deck, working on stuff that we both love, and stuff that we're both working on, and working on each other and going, no, Andy, man, and we argue a little bit. And that's a real connectivity. That's a real thing that happens. And that's someone that loves you enough. I mean, the reason we were sitting on the deck was that both of us know that when one of us says something crazy, the other one's going to go, hey, dude, that's nuts. If you lost your freaking mind, because we love each other and we respect each other's worldview and reasoning skills and critical thinking skills and so forth. And so, and very few people have that in their lives. So oftentimes when they call the Ramsey show, it's the first time a Ramsey personality says to them in love, did you know that what you just said sounds really cray-cray? It does. And it's not because we're trying to be entertaining or hurt someone's feelings. It's because we really want them to have a better life as a result of having connected with us.
Exactly. I've got a couple of hypothetical questions, four actually, and I think you can answer these very quickly because these are the kind of questions that you get every day. But if somebody has been living under a rock, this podcast, we got listeners in, the last time we counted, 117 countries. Now,
Wow.
Granted, it may be 2 listeners in each country, but if somebody's been living under a rock and they don't know what Dave does and how he does it, I would like to just ask these questions and have you just tackle them real quickly.
Sure.
Is that okay? All right.
Let's go.
Dave, I am 21 years old. I graduated from high school but did not go to college. I am not married and not close to being married. I own my own business, which is debt-free. I am also personally debt-free. What 3 things in my financial and work life should I pay closest attention to as I move toward 25 or 30 years old?
Wow. What a rock star young man or woman. That's pretty amazing. Wish I'd been that smart at 21 or 22.
Me too.
Well, in your work life and in your personal life, Andy and I both would tell you that you become who you hang around with. The Bible says, be not deceived. Evil company corrupts good habits. And so you're going to speak like, walk like, talk like, read like, save like, be generous like the people you run with. It's not to say we're not going to be unkind to someone has a differing view, but you're going to become what your posse is. So choose them. Don't let life just hit them with default. Number 2, read like a maniac. Read. I have 73 master's degrees after I graduated from college, all from books, no real master's degrees. But I have a book open, a nonfiction book, all the time. I still read fiction because it makes airplanes fly faster, but read like a maniac. If you need the answer to a question, it's in a book, dude. If you need to be inspired by someone who's done something you want to do, it's in a book. Someone's done it. You're not the first one to run into this problem. You're not the first one to run into this opportunity. Read. As far as your financial world goes, you're on track. If you follow God's and grandma's ways of handling money, you're always going to save money. You're always going to be generous. You're going to live on a written plan that's called a budget, and you're going to stay out of debt. When you do those things with money, you're always going to win with money. But those are pretty basic and easy to understand. But in a world where almost no one saves money, stays out of debt, lives on a plan, and is generous, no one you run into does that. But no one wins financially. Success is highly unusual. So you're going to engage in highly unusual activities.
Excellent. Okay, here's another one. Dave, I'm a single mother with 2 elementary school-age children. We live in an apartment and receive no support from my ex-husband. Neither do I receive government assistance. I work from 8:30 till 4 every day as an assistant manager of a retail store. The benefits are good and the money I make is adequate, but there's very little margin at the end of the month. I've thought about an extra business, but I have no particular skills. What am I supposed to do?
Business doesn't require a certain skill. It requires a desire to help someone and serve someone. So you have something in your heart, and you know you do, where when you think about serving someone, it makes your heart change. I'm not talking about your head, I'm talking about your heart. Your heart flutters a little bit when you talk about it. And there's something in that area. And so it might have something to do with serving single moms because you uniquely know the pain and the fear and the frustrations of it. I talked to a lady the other day who buys clothes at garage sales for $0.10 and sells them on eBay for $1. Only she does that about 10,000 times a month. And so she's, as her part-time side gig, made 10 grand last month selling used clothing on eBay. Oh my God, tell me America's dead. Okay. I talked to a kid the other day who made $60,000 last month selling tennis shoes. He buys the samples, the leftovers from last year, and sells them on eBay for half of this year's price, and or Facebook Marketplace and those kinds of things. And you can do every bit of that at night with your computer and your brain. So use your computer, a brain, and a heart. And yeah, start your business at night when the kiddos go to bed. And I don't know when you wrote Traveler's Gift, but I was working another gig when I wrote Financial Peace. And I was working real estate trying to eat, had 2 little babies, and I was starving to death. And Financial Peace was written from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. in the morning, and not in one night. A lot of those 10 p.m.s, because I'm not a very good writer. I'm a really good communicator, but I'm not a good writer. And so, that what's the extra hustle and grind? What's the side gig after the kids go to bed? And that's your difference maker. You hustle while others are asleep.
Awesome. Mr. Dave, I am a 14-year-old girl, and my family is kind of messed up. Mainly alcohol is involved. I make average grades, and I'm sure there will be no money for college anyway. I work after school and weekends to pay for gas and insurance for my beat-up car. My question is, what is my plan? Is there one for me? I don't want to end up like my parents.
Bless your heart. Horrible trauma to have to go through, and horrible things to have to say out loud when you're 14. The great news is that this can become like me going broke in my 20s. It could become your great advantage. And, Tony Robbins tells an old story, and I have no idea if it's true, but it's a great story. 2 twin brothers, their father goes to jail for robbing a bank, and one of them becomes highly successful in business. The other one ends up in jail for robbing a bank. And when they interviewed both of them said the exact thing. With a dad like mine, how else could I have turned out? And so you get to choose to be the brother that's successful, not the one that emulates your parents. And so sometimes your parents in horrible situations like this are the anti-mentor. They're the ones that are showing you how not to go, what not to do. And so find people in your community and tell them your story who are successful in their marriages, successful in their spiritual walk, successful in their careers, successful in their attaining of education, and let them teach you and mentor you and walk with you. It doesn't have to be one person. You may find those in a really good church in your area. If you can find a thriving, breathing, not a dead church, but a thriving, breathing church with a good pastor, maybe even a good youth pastor, that could be a good place to start to get some people in your life. And it's not to fix your present situation. It's to show you how not to be that when you grow up, which was your question. Yes, you can go to college debt-free. You're going to be eligible for a bazillion Pell Grants and a bazillion different scholarships. You can go get those. Yes, you can work like a maniac and go to college. You can't do it on minimum wage, but you can babysit and make $25 an hour in today's world, and that will get you through college. Big time. Nanny, big time way to get through college right now. And just go to an in-state school, go to a local community college for your first 2 years. You can go through and get your 4-year degree, but your 4-year degree is not the magic sauce, honey. You're the magic sauce.
Excellent. All right, here's the last one. Dave, I am 40 years old. My wife and I have 3 children, all teenagers. We both work, and our only debt is our cars and our house. But braces, clothes for the kids, sports, and upcoming vehicles for them leave me depressed and unsure that I will live until 50. My wife seems to blame me for the tightness of our budget, but I just can't work any more hours than I do. Help, I am drowning.
Yeah. Well, you're not doing a written plan. The tightness of your budget is a philosophical construct for you, not a tactical one. And you need to do a written plan, and you and your wife need to sit down and go, we have limited resources, and we're going to have to put these items that are all valid in order of priority. And we're going to attack the first one first, the second one first. And the other thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to learn a new word around your house, and the word is no. You don't tell these teenagers no for nothing. They get everything they want, and then you whine about not being able to pay for their braces. And yet they're going and doing this, and they're going and doing that. And it might be you're trading sports for their braces, or it might be you're trading travel ball, which is stinking expensive, or all-star cheerleading, just shoot me. Okay, get me. Oh my gosh. It's okay to do that, but it's not okay to do that and your kids don't have braces and you're not going to live till you're 50. Melodramatic, right? Bull crap. But you are going to be able to do this, but you need to do a written game plan, and you and your wife start saying no to each other so we can say yes to the right things. What's the right things? How are you going to get a car? Maybe little Bubba needs to learn how to mow some grass so he can get him a car. That's how I got my first one. And I remember you doing the same kind of stuff, Andy.
Man, that is classic. That is exactly what we're talking about. That is wisdom and truth told to change somebody's life. And so these are real situations, and I totally believe everything you just said, and I totally believe that those 4 people can get baby steps millionaires, and that they can do that. They can do that. It's funny.
Wouldn't it be cool to meet that 14-year-old when she's 34?
Yeah.
Because she had a path to run on and a belief that if she ran the path, it would work. And she's back, and her mom and dad are still a mess, but she's now worth a couple $1 million, 34, 37 years old, and got 2 kids, a very functional household. And she and her kind, loving, gentle husband are able to do some things to help her parents clean up their lives. I mean, she could change her family tree with the rear view mirror as well as the windshield.
Yeah. I remember when we first started talking a little while ago, when you were defining millionaire, and you said this doesn't have anything to do with the moral. Should I be a millionaire? Should I have that much money? And I, every time I hear somebody talk about that and talk about, nobody needs that much money. Nobody need, you hear that these days. You hear the news media say that. And I am always brought back to my childhood. My dad was a minister, and so I was around for a lot of the stuff that happened in the church. And I saw a lot of tragedies that occurred within the church, just like somebody's house burned down. And, I remember this totally. This family's house burned down, and it was on a Tuesday night. And on a Wednesday night, they're having the meeting and prayer meeting, and everybody was there. And so he's telling these people, house burned down, and so we need to pray for them. They've lost everything. And so there were all kind of prayers, and I remember thinking at some point when I saw that kind of situation repeated over and over, I remember thinking, what are we praying for? And the answer that I got was, I guess that God will push somebody forward that has a lot of money that can pay for this stuff. I guess we're praying for somebody that has some money to be generous. I mean, we're all praying. We ain't got the money, but somebody. And so I always think, if somebody's going to have the money, it ought to be good people, generous people. It's part of your message, generosity. It's a core part of your message. And so I appreciate you. You have, I know that when somebody sticks their head above the crowd, they take a lot of the tomatoes. And
I wish it was just tomatoes.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And but you have affected so. I mean, it seems ridiculous to say so many lives when it's been millions of lives. I run into people every single day that know that you and I are friends, that tell me to tell you thanks. This guy saved my family. This guy saved, this guy, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Dave. I mean, and so I just want to, if you ever get to feeling sad or anything, you just call me and let me pat you on the back, because
Wow.
you mean a lot to us, Dave. And
I appreciate that, Andy. But the interesting thing for folks at home to take away from this whole thing is that when you do the Traveler's Gift, when you do Wisdom Harbor, when I do Financial Peace, or Baby Steps Millionaires, and then someone says to you, "Oh, those 7 principles, you changed my life, Andy." I mean, you and I know the truth, and the truth
Right.
is, no, we didn't. I mean, listen, Dave, you got me out of debt. I didn't give you any money. I didn't get you out of debt, honey. You got you out of debt. You changed your life with the 7 principles. You read the Traveler's Gift, and or Baby Steps Millionaires, and did what we told you to do, and it worked. But you did it. Yeah, So the proper way to phrase this, and it's important, because the reason it's important is not to deflect and be humble. That's not the point. The reason it's important is you need to understand you're the hero in your own story. And Andy's not, and Dave's not. And so, by God, go win, go do this stuff. And that is a big deal to remember. And I appreciate the compliment that says, Dave, the stuff you taught me changed my life. Now, that's the truth. That's the truth. But you changed my life. I didn't change your life. Right?
Right. That is right. Well, you've done it again with Baby Steps Millionaires, how ordinary people built extraordinary wealth, and how you can too. This is a playbook. You guys, you want to change your life? Here's a playbook. Playbooks are expensive. NFL players get fined like thousands of dollars for losing their playbook, and that's just for a stinking 3-hour game. And so this is a playbook for your life, for your future. So make sure that you pre-order this now at RamseySolutions.com. Dave, thank you for being with us.
Well, I'm honored. Thank you, my friends. Good to see you.
You too, buddy, and I'll see you soon. I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing that tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limper. The Noticer theme written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Barefoot skis provided for the cast and crew by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by predeclinedcreditcards.com. Have you ever created your own financial mess by running up credit card debt? Have you slowly paid your credit cards down to zero and sworn off them altogether, only to receive a barrage of offers for more credit cards in the mail? That's where we can help. At predeclinedcreditcards.com, we take the temptation to charge your purchases away by removing those aggravating offers from the U.S. mail. Our state-of-the-art software inputs your name and address into the U.S. Postal Service systems and destroys any possibility that you'll ever be bothered by credit card companies again. First, our patented software identifies the envelopes intended for you, those offering more cards and higher limits. Then, it does a nice approximation of cursive handwriting in red ink, and with the bold message, "This credit card has been pre-declined," written on the front and back, reroutes the envelope, returning it to its company of origin. In other words, predeclinedcreditcards.com assists you by not only removing temptation and reducing the volume in your post office box, but by burying the credit card companies with their own junk mail. That's predeclinedcreditcards.com. Join now. We're on your side.